Welcome, everyone. That was some good intro music, right? I think that's going to be our vibe today. My name is Nicole Pumphrey, and I'm the Deputy Director here at the Welcoming Center. We're so pleased that you could join us today for the release of our Engaging Immigrant Talent Toolkit. Over the next 60 minutes, we want to share with you why we chose to embark on this journey, demonstrate how this toolkit might be useful to you and your organization, and spark some dialogue and build connections. For the last 18 years, the Welcoming Center has played a key role in connecting immigrant talent to employers in the region. For the past 18 months, we've taken on a new project. We set out to listen. Our goal was to better understand how to build cultural competency and create workplaces that are inclusive of and integrate immigrants successfully. We brought together HR professionals, organizational executives, workforce development practitioners, and immigrants. Through a series of interviews, focus groups, and roundtable discussions, they shared their perspectives, challenges, solutions, and hopes. What we present to you today is not a prescriptive playbook. Rather, it is a guide, a set of tools to be adapted by individuals and organizations that are truly committed to further developing their immigrant integration strategies. This work would not have been possible without the help, support, and guidance of many partners and collaborators. We've asked many of them to join us today. I would also be remiss to not thank Janelle Junkin and her team at the Junkin Group. Thank you. I am now proud to introduce my colleague, Rochelle Cooks, Director of Employer Engagement here at the Welcoming Center, and quite frankly, the glue that held this all together. Rochelle?
Thank you. Working on the Engaging Immigrant Talent initiative, I learned that it is important to identify oneself as friend or foe. I am friend, I am an ally. I do not assume to know the immigrant story based on relationships or family ties, but I can relate to the experience of moving to a new place, leaving family behind with the hopes of advancing my career and pursuing an education. My journey was made slightly easier than many because I merely crossed state lines as an American, not borders or oceans as an immigrant. I recognize this as my privilege. It comes with awareness, responsibility, and accountability. Privilege can be earned or freely given. I do not take this lightly. That is my awareness. I leverage my privilege as an ally to the immigrant community when I am given a seat at the proverbial table. I bring a chair with me for someone else to sit because I cannot speak for the community in which I have formed an allyship. And if there is no room for another chair, I will dismantle or disrupt the status quo. That is our responsibility. I am intentional about being an ally. We designed the Engaging Immigrant Talent Toolkit for employers and brought immigrants onto this project in a variety of ways. Their voices are represented throughout this project and the pages of the toolkit. That is accountability. Here is a video of a conversation in their own voice.
I can say immigrants are also very talented. In many cases, we arrive with impressive backgrounds and experience. In many cases, they have diplomas from master's degrees, PhD, and they only need an opportunity to bring all their skills to the society and economy. Also, I would like to share something that I found helpful. My current company has a workflow to validate the authenticity of the diplomas by themselves. So I didn't need to translate the diplomas. I mean, I get abroad all my diplomas. I study abroad. So I didn't need to do additional paperwork.
Language is important, but language is one thing as a communication tool. And most immigrant job seekers have a language ability to communicate with people at work. So please see the other valuable attributes beyond the language that immigrant employees can bring up to your company. Like they're smart enough to speak another language and brave enough to come to a new country to live and work. And immigrants from different cultures bring fresh views and ideas, but also they are often persistent, adventurous, and disciplined. So these are really good attributes that I want you to see from us.
I want to go right after that because you just said some things that are very important to note. You know, when people decide to leave where they know what they are used to and decide to create a different life for themselves somewhere else, it means that they have a certain level of discipline, of resilience, you know, and a lot of times immigrants come to workplaces determined to make it work, you know. So they usually go the extra mile to get job done, sometimes even not taking paid time off or taking vacations just so that they can prove themselves. You know, I believe that organizations need to recognize the work that people put in and not take advantage of those things. You know, so it's important to recognize what people are bringing in, what immigrants bring into your organization, and promote them when you see them doing good job. You know, don't take advantage of people because you think that you would always have them there. You may not.
Immigrants want to be treated like anyone else, and they don't want to be overlooked. Doesn't mean that the system right now doesn't need to be adapted, but like just like anyone else who applies to a job, just consider an immigrant like another applicant. You know, like if you have a diploma from another country, you still have a diploma. It doesn't mean it's from another country that it's not valuable. And the last thing I'd say is that Americans now are very able to see like intersectionality between like race, sex, gender, but I think they don't see yet this intersectionality with immigrants, and that there is a lot of things that are just specific to immigrants, but that also, that doesn't mean the immigrants are only affected by this, they're also affected by a lot of other factors, and that this needs to be treated and thought of.
And I also want to remind you that nearly more than 40% of all global GDP now comes from cross-border transactions. So practicing work with people with a different cultural background at home here will be really helpful for US companies in the global business environment.
We want to thank Monica and Mia, Joy, and Ben for sharing their experience and insight with us. The good news is that a longer version of that video is going to be on our website, so you can see people move in real time. I'm glad you could hear their voices though. It's now my pleasure to introduce 4 individuals who have not only supported and championed this toolkit, but who do the work every day to build a more inclusive and equitable economy. And if you have any questions for our speakers, please put them in the chat and we'll ask that they follow up after they're done speaking, and that their team members can also follow up in the chat. So this is my absolute pleasure to introduce Monica Munn, the Managing Director, Philanthropy at the WES Mariam Assefa Fund, Sheila Ireland, who's the Deputy Secretary for Workforce Development, the Pennsylvania Department of Labor and Industry, Heloise Jettison, the Senior Director for the City of Philadelphia Department of Commerce's Office of Workforce Development, and John Toohey, Principal at Salveson Stetson Group and a Welcoming Center board member. Monica?
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nikki and Rochelle. I'm just thrilled to be here today with you all at the Welcoming Center, amazing leaders from the City of Philadelphia and state of Pennsylvania, employers, and everyone on this virtual engagement to celebrate. This is an incredible new resource that's being launched today, and we strongly believe it will help employers better support immigrant talent and create more inclusive workplaces. My name's Monica. As Nikki mentioned, I serve as the Managing Director of Philanthropy for World Education Services, where I lead our philanthropic arm, the WES Mariam Assefa Fund. The Mariam Assefa Fund launched in 2019 with the vision of building more inclusive economies for immigrants and refugees in the United States and Canada. Through grant making, impact investing, and field building, our philanthropic efforts focus on ensuring that all immigrants and refugees can achieve their goals and thrive. When the fund made its inaugural grants in 2019, light years ago, I know it seems like, the Welcoming Center was one of our very first partners. From the beginning, we knew how important it was for both immigrant workers themselves and employers to inform workforce integration strategies and to shape more equitable practices in the workplace. We were thrilled to collaborate with the Welcoming Center and build on their partnership with other programs at WES, including Global Talent Bridge. As a funder, seeing employers adopt more inclusive, worker-centered practices is an essential priority for us. The barriers immigrant and refugee workers face to economic advancement are systemic, interconnected, and often intersectional. We also know that success at work depends on many other factors outside the workplace. Over the last few years, and in particular since the nationwide reckoning with racial justice that began last summer, we've heard from employers interested in helping to dismantle systemic barriers and create spaces where everyone can contribute their talents and advance in their careers. Employers have a significant role to play in supporting the success of immigrants and refugees in the workforce. For example, employers can put in place culturally competent hiring practices, offer benefits and wraparound supports, or provide education and skill building opportunities for workers. Investments in practices like these and those outlined in the Welcoming Center's toolkit can have real impacts on the nature of your workplace and your bottom line. Our partner, Jobs for the Future, found that company investments in adult basic education have been shown to yield better than 123% return in the form of increased productivity and reduced turnover rate. But most importantly, as you heard in the fantastic intro video, we know that immigrants have unique assets and skills, including cultural capital, language skills, and entrepreneurial mindsets. These are critical for success at work, especially given the ways that jobs are changing. While we know there's no silver bullet to creating inclusive workplaces, the Engaging Immigrant Talent Toolkit can equip employers with tangible, proven actions to create more inclusive workplaces and tap into the potential of immigrant talent, which is needed now more than ever as the economy begins to recover and businesses rehire. Adopting inclusive practices is not a destination, but a journey. And the toolkit provides resources and points for reflection that meet employers at different stages on their journey. This incredible work would not have been possible without the vision and leadership of the Welcoming Center team, the state of Philadelphia, the state of Pennsylvania and the city of Philadelphia colleagues, and the perspectives of so many immigrant and refugee workers and job seekers and employers. It was truly their insights and suggestions that made this toolkit into what it is and ensured that it can be both inclusive and actionable. Just thank you all again so much for being here. I'm really looking forward to seeing and hearing today what strikes you from the toolkit and its recommendations and ideas you all have for how you can adopt this in your own organizations and share it with other employers who are committed to ensuring the success of immigrant and refugee workers. Thanks again, and back over.
Hi, Monica, thank you so much. It's wonderful to have a champion like you in this space that really allows us to do this type of work. I'm so happy to be here with you today celebrating the Welcoming Center's launch of the Engaging Immigrant Talent Toolkit. And although I moved to the Commonwealth mid-project, I'm so pleased with how you continued the work and developed this valuable tool. Your timing could not have been more perfect. As you already know, in the Commonwealth, the topic of the moment is the labor shortages that many businesses are encountering as we move to fully reopening after the pandemic. And while there are many factors influencing these shortages, including unprecedented shifts in both the nature of work, the level of competition for workers, and the impact of rapid adoption of technology and the utilization of technology in the world of work over the last 18 months, there is one factor I'd like to focus on today that I feel is often overlooked. Despite the economic history of the United States, when people are losing their jobs, we as a nation are tempted to call for restrictions on workers entering the country. There are several lessons we should have learned during the Great Recession, which show us that such measures often backfire. During the Great Recession, with the economy shrinking, the United States capped H-1B worker visas at drastically lower rates. And while it would seem that this would leave more jobs for US-born Americans, the new American economy research found that the reverse actually happened. The result was a shortage of high-skilled workers, which stunted revenue and job growth at a time when it was most needed, particularly in high-tech businesses. A similar problem occurs in agriculture, one of our largest industry sectors here in Pennsylvania, when the number of foreign-born farm workers decreased. And once again, research showed that billions of dollars in revenue and job growth were lost for farms and related industries such as transportation. As popular sentiment leans towards blaming supplemental unemployment benefits for the current worker shortage, I would suggest that employers need to take a closer look at their hiring practices. Workers today are looking for employers who are providing high quality jobs in flexible, equitable, and diverse work environments. If you think wages alone are a proxy for job quality, you will find yourself in trouble in this new world order. If your recruitment practices are not both broad and deep, which suggests that you've positioned yourself to recognize talent, regardless of the vessel that carries it to your doorstep, you will lose your competitive advantage. With this in mind, it is no wonder that Brookings Institute suggested that increased employment among immigrants may be an indicator of the end of a crisis and the beginning of a recovery, something we are all looking forward to. By keeping your doors open to immigrants, Pennsylvania can position itself for a quicker recovery and a chance to expand the economy in new directions. So I thank the Welcoming Center for their work, and employers, you now have a toolkit to help you connect to valuable workers who can provide you with both the resilience and the stability you need to keep your business thriving. I couldn't think of a better testimony than the video that we saw earlier to this very fact. So again, my heartfelt congratulations to the Welcoming Center. Nikki, Rochelle, you are amazing. And thank you, Monica, for your support of this project. Next we have up Heloise. Oh, good to hear.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, Monica. And thank you, Sheila. Sheila, who I worked with at the City of Philadelphia when we first started this journey. And good afternoon, everyone. It is really a pleasure to be here today. When I started this journey with the Welcoming Center in 2016, actually, I was a senior director for workforce, and now I've moved to be the deputy director of workforce with the City of Philadelphia. So being able to use this opportunity even more to support and share in the excitement and launch of this Engaging Immigrant Talent Employer Toolkit. This has been in the making for a little while now, and the detailed and comprehensive approach that the team at the Welcoming Center took to get this final product is significant. They looked at all of the angles, ensured that the employer community of all sectors and sizes had an opportunity to participate in the process and weigh in from the beginning to the end. We all understand as we do this work that if we truly want diversity and inclusion, and above all, equity in the workplace, we have to do our jobs right as workforce and business services agencies and stakeholders, to be clear in our collaborations and to show up as business partners in our own right as nonprofit agencies to get this work moved in the right direction. As I said, we began this journey with the Welcoming Center in 2017. And what we learned from that early work was to understand the value as well as the gaps we needed to fill for dedicated and precise resources for the employer communities to be more successful and progressive. This toolkit is thorough and timely. In the wake of developing this toolkit, all of us experienced the pandemic, the economic downturn, and the more visible racial and social injustices that were most prominently displayed through the case of Mr. George Floyd and its fallout here in Philadelphia and many, many other cities. These lessons learned spread across all of our work, and we continue to focus on including and appreciating the talents of diverse populations The workforce community of immigrants specifically is where this toolkit shines and will serve as a great asset to businesses. We look forward to continuing to work with the Welcoming Center and our partners in the business community to ensure what we know we must have and value, and that is real diversity, true equity, and continual systemic inclusion for all. I thank you again, Rochelle, Nikki, and the whole team, Monica, for your vision and funding, for all the work that you did to get us to this point. And congratulations again on this very thorough and timely employer toolkit. I look forward to more discussion and using it and making sure our businesses utilize it as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is John Toohey. I'm a board member of the Welcoming Center and have been for the last 6 years. And I want to start by thanking Rochelle and her team for managing this very important project. My day job, I run an executive search firm in the local market, and most of my clients are larger employers in the Philadelphia area. And this is a very timely subject to be discussing, given what I'm hearing from the HR community in Philadelphia. I was on a conference call with about 50 heads of HR last week, and the topic was labor and talent shortage. I know it's a little bit counterintuitive when we still have so many folks unemployed, but people are really struggling to fill jobs right now, and at all levels. I think we probably hear more noise about entry-level positions, the $15 to $25 an hour roles, and certainly that is a significant shortage at that level. But at all levels, I think organizations are feeling the squeeze as the economy kind of heads back into the on-ramp of a highway that's leading us to recovery, and we have some bumps along the way. So as the speakers before me mentioned, accessing every available talent pool to address those short-term needs is very, very important. And I think the toolkit does something that perhaps HR leaders aren't thinking about, which is not just how do I find and recruit immigrant talent, but how do I keep and develop immigrant talent? I think that's really where organizations do fall down on this issue. Everybody wants to know how can I find folks? Well, how do you keep them and how do you retain them? And I would say that there's often a disconnect between the private sector and workforce development agencies like the Welcoming Center on how to do that. And what I appreciate about the comprehensive nature of the toolkit is it's not just about recruitment, it's about the entire employee life cycle that an immigrant can have within your organization, and the contributions that he, she, or they can make to the organization while they're there. It's nice to see a project that really involved a public-private partnership, because I think there often is a disconnect between those two entities. And this is really encouraging to see a document that was created with the input of kind of a 360 perspective on employment, particularly related to immigrants. So again, appreciate everything Rochelle and the team have done. And for my HR friends in the audience today, I really do hope that you will use this as you look to access alternative talent pools to meet your staffing needs. Thank you.
Wow. John, Eloise, Sheila, Monica, thank you so much. Truly appreciate it. Have we done our job, everyone? Are you excited? You're going to download this toolkit? We're going to pivot in just a second to the second part of our event. We really want to be able to provide a space to make connections. But before we do that, I want to be sure you know what's next. So first is we want you to download the toolkit. We're going to be providing information in the chat. It's a link on our website to download the toolkit. And we hope that you will do that. And this is just the beginning. I want to say that we really think of this as the start of our work together. And We want to encourage you to continue to engage with the Welcoming Center, whether that be using this toolkit or engaging with our participants through our programs here at the Welcoming Center. But in order to do that, we want to hear from you. We want to start that engagement now. And so we want to continue to listen. And so for the next 25 minutes, we're going to go into breakout sessions. Each session will be facilitated and there will be a note taker for each session. So feel free to share what excited you about today, what your impressions, what resonated with you. And we'll see you back here at about 1:55. So let's go.
I hope you all had some good conversations and had an opportunity to meet some new folks. And I really do hope that you enjoyed our presentation today of the toolkit. I'm looking forward to seeing the playback and making sure to follow up on any unanswered questions. If you have any questions that weren't answered and you want to drop it in the chat, please feel free to do so. We'll be happy to follow up with you afterwards. And so now as we wrap up, we are excited for you to see the Engaging Immigrant Talent Toolkit. So please go to the link in the chat to download it today. I believe you will most definitely find some valuable insights within it. I definitely want to thank you all for being a part of this event. Those that were in the video, our speakers, facilitators, and note takers, Woody Gritty. And I would be remiss if I did not explicitly thank the team who worked so closely with me from the beginning of this project. And that's Nicole Pumphrey from the Welcoming Center, Janelle Junkin and her team at the Junkin Group, Andrew, Brad, and then the fabulous Welcoming Center interns, Z and Emily, who are also part of this. I thank each and every one of you for your time and expertise and the many pivots that we had to do throughout the 18 months of this project. So thank you, thank you, thank you. There's just not enough words for it. After today, everyone will receive a follow-up email. It will include the link to download the toolkit as well as a recording of this event. And the full-length version of the video that you saw earlier today will be available on our YouTube channel shortly, and we will send that out as well. I invite you to share this with your colleagues and other employers, especially human resources and diversity, equity, and inclusion practitioners. And lastly, we will keep you informed about future events as we plan to have smaller group discussions to dig deeper into the toolkit for us to partner in promoting inclusive economic growth through immigrant integration. So thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon and have a wonderful weekend.